protein, but I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. So that one's going to kind of fudge the numbers around the most. Then I would pick your protein and figure out your protein, because your protein's going to most likely have fat. There's not many protein sources that don't have fat. And fats are going to be the one that's last, that has the least amount of different things in it. Most fats tend to be pure fat, except for, there's a few exceptions, which is going to be peanut butter, because it has, obviously it's got carbohydrates and it has protein in it. Cheeses, it's going to have protein and it's going to have fat. And two, when you guys start doing it and you figure out, okay, this has a lot of both of these, you're going to get really good at making your meal plans and getting close to your macros. Initially, it's probably going to bug the living crap out of you because it's a little bit harder than what you've done in the past. But once you figure out your meal plans, honestly, if you want to be successful, it's about keeping it simple. You shouldn't be eating something one day, something completely different the next day, and the next day completely something different. The people that are able to stick to plan and get the best results tend to have the most simple meal plans. Now, with the flexibility, obviously you can interchange foods. If you start getting bored with something, start mixing something else in. But if you really want to be successful, simplify it. A lot of us stress out about nutrition and make it more than what it really is. Don't do that. So keep it as simple as possible. Start making your meal plans. Honestly, week one, I would highly recommend just making like a one-day meal plan and sticking to it the entire week. You start getting sick of chicken, then obviously substitute something in. You might have to change your macros just a little bit. And then as you get more comfortable, you can start adding stuff in. You can start adding in recipes. Because week one, it's going to take you a while to make your day one meal plan. If you try to make a full week's of meal plan with a new way of counting macros, you're probably going to show up here with a gun and shoot Aaron. So we don't want that.
Rude.
Video.
It's better him than me. So
I'll send you his address.
So take the stress out of it. Just create one meal plan. Max, I would have 1 or 2 meal options for each different meal. But what's nice is your meals, your pre-workout and your post-workout, I made it so they're the same macros, and then your other meals after that are the same macros as well. So essentially, if you wanted to get away with, you can make one for your pre and post, and then one for your after meals. So literally, you maybe have to create 2 meals. If you really wanted to keep it that simple, you could. So don't overwhelm yourselves. Now, counting all macros works well for me because like when I'm on a diet, I'm a robot. I eat the same crap every day. So basically, I figure stuff out one time, and that's all I do. So unless I need to make some changes, but I can eat that way. I know Aaron can eat that way. When food becomes fuel, you'll do some stuff that you never thought you'd be able to do. So that's kind of how I would start. I know it's not like you need to do this, and this. Everyone's going to find their own way of doing it and best practices. And at the end of the day, if you want to make it a lifestyle, you've got to find something that it works for you and how you do it. So I know some people that will drive them crazy because I didn't give you exact step-by-step directions of how to do every little thing, but you're going to have to figure out what works for you. Now, one of the things that we're incorporating with Phase 2 that we didn't really incorporate in Phase 1, we did say if you eat off the list, then just count it and get over it. Kind of the same principle, but flexible dieting. With flexible dieting, technically you can eat what you want. You just got to make it work within your macros. But like we said, we want you keeping within a 90% rule. So what's great about flexible dieting, it kind of takes away that mindset of I ate something bad, or this food is good, this food is evil, I can't ever have it. And it eliminates that mindset of, oh, I can't have that, I can't have that. How many people, it's like you start a diet and then you're like, now you crave chocolate chip cookies because now you can't have chocolate chip cookies and now you want them. A day ago when you weren't on a diet, you didn't need chocolate chip cookies, but now because you're on a diet, you need chocolate chip cookies. Or feel bad for me because I can't eat that, or whatever it may be. So flexible dieting kind of eliminates that. Obviously, you can take it to an extreme and just eat crap food, which we don't want you to do. So 90% of the time, eating on the food you should, and then 10% there is some leeway. Maybe you are craving chocolate. So you can figure out how can I put in a piece of chocolate or 2 pieces of chocolate into my diet program and still hit my macros and still stay on point. So it really helps people that sometimes the relationship with food isn't there. It really helps change the mindset. No more off-limits stuff. Flexible dieting is pretty easy. So obviously, what's great about MyFitnessPal or one of those apps, they literally have, I think MyFitnessPal, they have 250,000 different foods in their program. So no matter where you're going, you can figure it out. And one of the guides I talk about, a lot of struggles a lot of people had in phase 1 in just all our challenges is what happens when I eat out, what happens when somebody caters food in, maybe it's a luncheon, maybe it's whatever it may be. Some people it was a weekly occurrence where literally they would stress all week thinking about their lunch on Thursday that somebody was catering. Like it caused them that much stress all week. That's all they thought about was how were they going to avoid eating that or whatever it may be. So if you know what it is, you can plan ahead and figure out the macros in it and adjust your food plan accordingly. So maybe you know there's no way to avoid it. You're going to a restaurant and I don't know what's around here. Maybe it's Applebee's. So go online, look at Applebee's menu, pick something on there. Now you're going to start looking at things and going, okay, what's the most macro friendly, not just what's healthy. Because you can eat healthy food and eat a ton of macros. Like if you went and had 2 grilled chicken breasts and rice and whatever else, you may have just ate 800, 900 calories. Was it healthy food? Yes, but you still overate healthy food. So now you can go look at a menu, you can pick your macros, make it macro friendly, and then eat it and enjoy it. Don't worry about it. A lot of it is we're trying to eliminate the stress of food. Now, to make it work optimally, you plan ahead. You don't want to just say, hey, you want to go out to dinner tonight? Sure. And then you go out to dinner and then you're at the table and you have no idea what you're going to eat, and then you talk yourself into eating 3 rolls and a crappy dinner and dessert and whatever else afterwards, and then you did blow your diet. So plan ahead. You should be structuring those things. Most of you know if you have a luncheon or a lunch date or a dinner date or some type of work requirement, most of you know ahead of time. It's not usually like last second, like, hey, we have this big meeting today and it's being catered. You probably knew that last week and you can plan ahead for that. I had one other thing on there that I wanted to talk about. I think it's on the sheet. Alright. Be prepared for that stuff. But if you do find yourself in a restaurant and you weren't planning on it, basically, obviously try to make it as macro friendly as possible. You can look it up on your apps. You can look it up on the phone. I've done that many times where I wasn't planning on going to anywhere for food, and then I just kind of look on my phone and figure out what is going to be the most macro friendly to eat. And if you really look at what's in some of the food where you think, oh, that's a healthy choice, and you look it up, you're like, I had no idea that would be 800 calories. That salad probably isn't good for me. So make sure you're looking at the foods that you're eating, planning ahead. But if you find yourself in a restaurant, you can look it up. The last thing you want to do, though, is just sit down in a restaurant and start trying to make a decision. Honestly, I said that in phase 1. If you go to a restaurant and you start looking at the menu, you start talking yourself into why you deserve to eat this food, why it's not that bad, how you're going to make up for it later, all that crap that you tell yourself to talk yourself into eating the food you know you shouldn't eat. So my goal for all of you would be plan ahead, and literally when your butt hits the seat, when you're in the restaurant, you don't need a menu. You're just going to tell the waiter or waitress, I want X, Y, and Z. And then obviously all the other crap that comes with dinner or service, you guys don't need. So obviously if you're with a table of people and they're eating chips and salsa or rolls or whatever, you're not going to be like, hey, take that away from my table, but just keep a distance. But if you're in control of that, don't have them bring out the rolls. Don't have them bring out the tortilla chips. Because all you're going to be doing is thinking about how you can have that. And you don't want that. And if you do eat it, then you need to count it and make up for it later. All right, so that's eating out. Recipes. So one of the great things about the flexible dieting piece is now counting recipes is easy. Now, what does this count as? And there's this amount of fat. Do I need to count the fat? There's this amount of protein. Do I need to count the protein? You guys don't have to worry about that anymore. And most recipes nowadays come with the macronutrients already in them. It says it equals this. Each serving is 500 calories, 200 grams of protein, which obviously isn't right, and then whatever else. It could if it was like pure protein, but no, I wanted that to be 800 calories. Obviously, I'm not a mathematician. So, most recipe stuff comes with the recipe, the macronutrient breakdown already. But if it doesn't, all you have to do is use the tracking app that I'm going to test out tonight. One of them, like one of the things that they really pride themselves on is the recipe aspect of it. So basically you go in, you put the ingredients in, it spits it all out for you, so you know each serving equals X amount of protein, X amount of this, X amount of that. So it'll make your guys' life so much easier. I don't know how many of you all like to cook and cook for recipes, and honestly one of the biggest complaints with the challenge program is kind of the lack of ability to do recipes. Now that ability is gone, so there's one less thing to complain about. So not that I get a lot of complaints, but that's one of them. So that's kind of a majority of phase 2 in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions whatsoever? So obviously, like I said, tonight isn't going to be mind-blowing information or anything you guys don't already know. The biggest difference is going to be counting the macros and taking the time, and maybe you might have to have a drink before you start it so you're not frustrated. I don't know. But once you guys figure it out after your first week, you're going to be fine. I don't know if they're like laughing at the joke or laughing at me. I haven't figured it out yet.
The joke.
Do you find that the macros and calories, I mean, is that going to be an easy merge?
What do you mean macros and calories?
Because from what I'm getting, are we going to get a calorie count and a macro?
You don't have to worry about the calorie amount.
Okay,
Macros end up being calories.
okay, that's what I
But
wasn't sure.
Yeah, but we control it by counting the macros, so you don't have to worry about the calories. Basically, we turn those calories into macros, and then you guys count the macros.
Okay.
So one of the hardest things to actually estimate for people, like we could take a formula, there's probably 10 different formulas that people use to estimate what we estimated with the metabolic test, but it's only accurate 69% of the time, 10% in either direction. So maybe your resting metabolic rate is supposed to be 1,500 calories, so it might say it's 1,350, it might say it's 1,600, and for them it's accurate. For us, that's not, it's kind of spitballing. It gets us close, but not as close as we would like. So take those calories, turn them into macros, and it's a lot easier. It's better. The macros are important because we want them structured a certain way to optimize body fat loss. We could just say, here's your calories, and you end up eating all your calories and carbohydrates and fat, and you might lose weight, but it's bad weight. You're losing muscle tissue, and you're not maintaining muscle tissue. So the macros allow us to optimize fat loss, not just counting calories. A lot of places like Weight Watchers and stuff like that, it's all based off calories, but it's a point system. So, they've done better with, stuff that's more optimal, healthier, don't count as many points, but it's still, they're a weight loss program. This is a fat loss program. So don't worry about the calorie count. Some of you will freak out at how many calories you actually get to eat, even though you know what it was. But you'll be amazed at how many calories you can eat and still lose body fat. A lot of people just undereat all the time. So, any other questions?
Would you recommend a fiber supplement if we're not getting enough fiber, or will we be getting enough fiber?
You'll be getting, you're fine. You guys just have the giggles. It's Aaron?
I didn't say anything.
Guys, I'm a teacher. I'm inquisitive.
Oh no, I have a question too, don't worry. I'm good, go.
Okay.
They've been giggling for like 2 hours. They were giggling at the workout. The only time they stopped was during burpees. No, so the fiber intake. So in your guide, I actually linked kind of an article on fiber. No, you're fine. So one of the links I put on there was an article all on fiber. So some people won't read it and some people want to know. So it talks about the benefits of fiber. It talks about the, obviously what happens if you're not getting enough fiber. And then it actually goes into talking about fiber supplements. Fiber supplements aren't a replacement for whole foods, but it's okay to get some of it, but don't be like, I'm not going to eat a single veggie and I'm just going to have 20 grams of fiber from a supplement. You know what I'm saying? So the goal is if you're getting enough veggies and you're eating off the food list, you're probably going to get enough fiber. But if you're not eating veggies, you're not, obviously if you're not eating fruit, you're not eating the good carbohydrate sources, then you're not going to get a lot of fiber whatsoever. The average American, I think, gets 15 grams of fiber a day.
15?
Yeah, but well, I mean, if you look at the average American diet,
It's not fiber friendly.
it's not fiber friendly, that's for sure. So, yeah, it's the average, I think, is 15. And then they actually polled a lot of people and they thought they were getting enough fiber a day, which they're not. And not getting enough fiber has been linked to a lot of things. So get your fiber in. You might even use the bathroom more.
Yay.
Any other questions? You have
Yeah, I did. So since we were counting everything, do you want us to count like our supplements as well, like aminos, C4?
If it has carbohydrates or protein or, does the aminos have any
Aminos
carbs
has
in them?
nothing. It's
Okay,
empty.
I didn't know, I don't read those.
C4 does, yeah, but amino has nothing.
Yeah, so you're gonna count, even if it's 4 grams, you're still gonna count it, because it adds
Yeah, I
up.
just wanted.
Everything adds up, and honestly, when you start counting everything, you start getting an awareness of what's in your foods. It's crazy, where you're like, well, it's not worth all of that, so I'm gonna have something else that's more macro friendly. But eat the foods you like. Most of you are gonna pick the same kind of foods that you had on phase 1. You're just gonna have to change probably the amounts that you were eating to fit your new macro scheme. How many of you still have to do the metabolic test? Did you all get with Leanna on rescheduling?
Oh,
Okay, y'all might be seeing me on Friday, so
I won't be able to make it Friday.
I'll open it up on Saturday too. So
I don't think it'll be like Saturday either.
where are you gonna be?
Work. I start work. I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Saturday morning?
Um,
Are you hungover or what?
She's gonna be
caffeined up.
Well, are you still recording?
Okay.
Speak. Speak it in English. Speak it in English.
I'll be up all night long, and so you're not gonna cut a night shifter's coffee off at 4 a.m.
No, not if you want the babies to
Sorry.
survive.
Did not risking my job.
So Thursday we'll have the stuff too. So I don't know what time do
Thursday
you like
before
going to work?
Thursday I have to leave Holland here by 10 to 6. I
That's
can
a
do any
lie.
other time Thursday.
You can leave at 6:10.
Just get with Leanna, and if she can't do it, I will do it.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna sound like an alcoholic, but I'm gonna ask.
Alcohol.
Yes, because I thought I saw,
Yep.
seen something in there.
So with the flexible dieting, we're talking about alcohol. He said alcohol.
It's the only reason I came.
Just need clarification and then I can go home.
Yeah. So. The goal with alcohol is to keep it to your cheat meals. That's the
Right,
in a perfect world.
right.
But the way that we're actually going to count alcohol in the plan, so alcohol does count as 9 calories, but what we're actually going to make you count your alcohol is we're basically going to turn the calories into carbohydrates. So we want to reduce your carbohydrates if you're eating alcohol. So the way it would work is basically if you had 1 beer and it was 100. Do not abuse this. Do not say Matt said I could do this. Now I can drink a glass of alcohol every night.
Thanks.
Aaron's gonna kill you.
Phase 2 complaints incoming.
So basically, you're going to divide the calories by 4, and that's going to be your carbohydrate intake. So If you have a glass of wine, you know, most glasses of wine is like 26 grams of sugar. So it might end up being like 120 calories, whatever it ends up being, divided by 4, and then that's going to be your carbohydrate intake that you have to account for. So a couple of glasses of wine, when your couple of glasses of wine takes away 50 grams of carbohydrates, you might think twice before drinking the couple glasses of
You
wine.
don't have to pay attention to any carbs or anything else that's in there, you just focus on the calories divided by 4.
Total calories.
Okay.
So that's accounting for the carbs, and the problem is we can't really account for, basically we're turning the alcohol to carbs.
I know it's still a naughty.
So it's, some people really love their I love carbohydrates way more than I love alcohol. So I will take the carbs all day long. So that's how you would do it, but obviously the goal is if you really want to optimize. But if you're getting to the point where, you know, it's more about maintenance and lifestyle and you don't necessarily want to, say, lose 20 pounds, then it starts being more of turning it into a lifestyle. But if you're like, I want to lose 30 pounds in the next 12 weeks, then alcohol needs to be cheat meal only and that's it. So, but there is that leeway. Our goal is to transition into this to being a complete lifestyle.
The main issue is how the chemical makeup of alcohol affects your cortisol levels. Like, it's going to inhibit fat burning the more alcohol you intake. So it's not necessarily that the caloric intake is as bad, it's more of what it does chemically to your body than it is anything else.
Yeah, it is going to have and obviously the amount matters too, right?
Right.
There's a big difference between 6 and 1. Like there's a huge difference. But yes, the cortisol effects, and for guys, there's no other guys besides me and Aaron, it lowers testosterone, which obviously isn't good for, if we want to maintain muscle and burn fat, it's not good. So with limitation, but you know, if you want to go have a glass of wine every once in a while, it's not going to discount it and move forward. But if you want to have drastic results in 12 weeks, stick to your cheat meal and that's it.
But at
That's the happiest
Every-
I've ever seen.
Every person just
I
smiled.
don't drink on camera,
Every person just smiled like
Good
this.
part.
If you can avoid it. I don't want.
I do know some.
You want to go there? Aaron's probably. You should have said that.
so. Yeah.
Oh, as soon as you leave.
So, what else do you guys have?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna ask yourself a lot. Is it worth it?
The biggest thing that you'll realize is like kind of nuts are kind of the perfect example, right? So on phase 1, a lot of people ate a lot of like almonds, cashews, peanut butter, stuff like that. When you count all macros, you find out very quickly that you don't even buy them anymore, right? Like PB2 is great. Like if you have to have the peanut butter flavor, PB2 is really good because they take 85% of the fat out of it, so it doesn't count quite as high. But like for me, like on my plan, I bought cashews thinking, oh, these are gonna be sweet. I haven't opened them because I would rather eat so much more food than like 4 cashews. Like it sucks. You're like, this is all I get. And so you're gonna find out very quickly that the foods that you're eating, you're always gonna be weighing that in your head. Is it worth having 3/4 of a tablespoon of peanut butter, or do I want a whole salad? Right? I mean, that's the difference. And that's what you're gonna have to kind of figure out amongst yourself is what is worth it to you.
But at the end of the day, eat the food you enjoy. Like if you love peanut butter, figure out how to work peanut butter. But if you don't really like peanut butter and you're just eating it, now you're probably gonna not work peanut butter. Like it's, everything in life is, nothing's one size fits all, and you got to figure out what works for you. And that's kind of too why we change things around. Is maybe at the end of this you're like, you know what, I don't like all macros. I want to go back to counting direct. That's fine. But at the end of the day, by the end of phase 2, you should know what you're able to carry on and continue to do at the end of the 12 weeks. Because it's not just about 12 weeks. It wasn't about phase 1. It's not just about phase 2. It's about the rest of your life, not just a 12-week period. So we don't want it where, phase 2 is done, I'm going to go eat a bunch of crab. Like that's definitely not the goal. It happens. Anything else?
So like we just looked up cheese for like now, it's like 0.36 carbs or grams of carbs or something. Are we for real counting everything?
I wouldn't,
Like if it's under one.
No, so on the back of the nutrition label, if it's under 1, it'll count as 0.
Okay.
Like on any nutrition label, if
yeah,
it's
read
less than
the,
1.
if you get stuff that has a nutritional label, just go out the nutritional label, but yeah, something like that, I wouldn't care. If you're, if you're using an app or something, it's a lot easier to
Just do whatever they say.
do what they say, but if you're handwriting it, I wouldn't be that worried about it. Where you gotta now decrease
And the
your,
point, whatever, do we just go with the whole number?
yeah, if it's close to, if it's above 0.5, then
So
Round
the
up,
reason
round
that
up.
some foods will say like 0.0000 on the back is because there's less than a gram. So like that spray butter, for instance, if you actually look it up, like every spray has like, I think it's like 0.87 grams of
Right.
carbs. And I don't know if you've ever used that, but I spray that thing like a hose. Right? And like,
it's like
because
point,
most people go, oh, it's free.
it's point, I think it has, if it's under
0.5.
0.5 anything, they don't have to do that. So then they make the
Right.
serving size so like ridiculously low that no human on the planet can actually
Right.
have a serving of it and be fine.
But
So then
So you
0.5,
have to be
0.5,
careful.
0.5, 0.5, 0.5, you probably just had as much butter, oil, as
Right,
if you were to just had the real thing.
right.
But you're thinking, I didn't have crap.
That's
So,
like that Walden Farm stuff too.
Yeah, that's awful.
Oh my god.
I experimented with
careful.
that. It was terrible.
on what?
That
The Walden
someone posted that
Farms.
Walden Farm
Oh.
0 peanut butter. Oh,
Oh, not the peanut butter,
Oh,
it's
God.
just
like
syrup
don't
in
do it.
general.
Don't
it's
do
all
it.
artificial.
You have to be really
It takes
careful.
a lot. It's like chemicals.
Yeah, a lot of people like,
Zero.
Yeah.
There's no
a
way.
lot of people who count on macros will try to do those things, but you know, it's one of those things that you're putting crap in your body still. Just because it doesn't count towards your macros doesn't mean there's not a side effect to it. So our goal is whole foods as much as humanly possible. And that's definitely the goal. Anything else? You guys are quiet in the back. I think you're ready. She's Anything else? Alright, so I'll be finishing up a few videos tonight, screen share of how to do different things, and then my recommendation for the apps. And then other than that, get through the guides. It goes into more detail than what I physically talked about, but most of everything I talked about was in the guides. But there's definitely detail in there, and read through them. I know not everyone's a reader, but try to. I try not to talk too long or write too long in those this time. So.
So we wait for those initial evals for after the